نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح ربي زدني علما. اللهم فقهنا في الدين، اللهم فقهنا في الدين، اللهم فقهنا في الدين. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبي على دينك. اللهم مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم إني أسألك رضاك، اللهم إني أسألك رضاك، اللهم إني أسألك رضاك. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربي زدني علما. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. آمين يا رحمن الراحمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, Alhamdulillah, we are covering Surah Al Baqarah, and we started with Surah Fatiha, and today we are going to talk about ayah number 200 until 200, 201, 202, and 203 of Surah Al Baqarah, inshallah. So we'll start with the word by word meaning. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
فإذا قضيتم مناسككم فاذكروا الله كذكركم آباءكم أو أشد ذكرا فمن الناس من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا وما له في الآخرة من خلاق.
فَإِذَا, then, when. So this then is continuing from the previous ayah. Last week we talked about the previous ayah. We were talking about the Hajj, the journey of Hajj that we take, and then after here it is talking about right after we've completed. So right after you've been to the place you've offered your sacrifice and everything, the rituals of Hajj. So it's talking about that. فَإِذَا, then when, قَضَيْتُمْ, you complete, all of you complete, manasikakum. Manasik, the acts of worship, the rituals that we do in worship. So manasikakum, your acts of worship. So when, and then when you complete your act of worship, your acts of worship, fadhkurullaha. Fa, then, udhkuru, remember, do the dhikr. Udhkuru Allah, that remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then remember Allah, ka dhikrikum. Ka here is just as, dhikrikum, you remember. Kadhikrikum, just as you remember, just as all of you remember. Aba'akum. Aba'a refers to our fathers, and not just our fathers' fathers, and their fathers and their fathers. So basically our forefathers, our people, our generations above us in our lineage. So aba'akum, your forefathers. Aw, or ashadda dhikra, with greater, ashadda, even greater, something which is greater than. So ashadda, with more, which has more shiddat in it, with more more strong, right? Aw ashadda dhikra, or with greater remembrance. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, then when you complete your acts of worship, then remember Allah as you remember your forefathers, or with even greater remembrance. Even greater than what? Even greater than remembering your forefathers, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like that. فَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and from, min, from, annas, people, and from the people, man yaqulu, man, the one who, yaqulu, he says, Rabbana, our Lord, atina, grant us, fid dunya, fi, in dunya, the world. Dunya refers to, dunya is not just the world, but dunya refers to, we commonly refer to this world as dunya, and which is the correct usage as well. But dunya linguistically means something which is low, the lowest. So this life is the lowest life, and after this, inshallah ta'ala, we will have higher and higher life. So this is the lowest of all life. So Rabbana atina fid dunya, grant us in this world, wama, and not, lahu, for him, fi, in, al-akhirati, the hereafter, min khalaq, min, of, or from, khalaq, any share, right? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and when you complete your acts of worship, then remember Allah as you remember your forefathers, or even greater remembrance. And from the people, there is somebody, there is someone, or there are some people who say, oh, our Lord, grant us in this world. And for such people, there is no share of the hereafter. Okay, we'll go over a little bit more and explain what this means. And then later on. And then ayah number 201.
ومنهم من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
وَمِنْهُمْ, and from those, مَنْ يَقُولُ, who say, and from those, which are these people? The people who have gone for Hajj, the people who are there. And it also could mean people from amongst us, from believers. So, وَمِنْهُمْ, and from those, there is the one who says, رَبَّنَا, our Lord, آتِنا, grant us, فِي الدُّنْيَا, in this world, حَسَنَةً, good, وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ, and in the hereafter, حَسَنَةً, good, وَقِنَا, and save us, عَذَابَ النَّارِ, from the punishment of the fire, an-nar, the fire. So, but amongst them, there is, so in the previous ayah, there was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us for one kind of people, and now He's telling us about another kind of people. So, there are other kind of people who say, our Lord, give us in this world that which is hasana, that which is good. A simple translation is good, but it means more than that. Inshallah, we'll talk about it in a bit. So, give us in this world hasana, and in the hereafter hasana, and save us from the punishment of fire. Number 202.
أولئك لهم نصيب مما كسبوا والله سريع الحساب.
Ulaika, those, lahum, lam, for whom, them, lahum, for them. Ulaika lahum, those, for them, nasibum is a share, mimma is towards min and ma. They joined together and made mimma. They have a share of what? Kasabu, they earned. Wallahu, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sari'ul hisab, is swift. Sari is very quick, swift. Al hisab, in taking hisab, in taking account in the reckoning. So those people which we learned, who say this dua, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar, those they will have. So here, those, for them, right? There was no need of, if we just speak in a normal speech, we would just say lahum nasibum. There was, when we put ulaika, it is like putting a double emphasis on it. Those, for them is the share, like, so it is a lot of emphasis here in the way the sentence has been put together. So those, they will have a share of what they have earned, and Allah is very swift in account. And then ayah number 203.
واذكروا الله في أيام معدودات فمن تعجل في يومين فلا إثم عليه ومن تأخر فلا إثم عليه لمن اتقى واتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم إليه تحشرون.
Wadkuru, and remember, again the same word that we're doing, dhikr, right, from dhikr. Wadkuru, and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fi ayyamim ma'dudat. Fi, in, ayyam, the plural of yawm. Yawm is a day, ayyam is the days. Fi ayyamim, in the days, ma'dudat means numbered, from adad. Adad is number. Ma'dudat, something which is numbered. So the days which are numbered. So remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the days that are numbered. And this here is referring to what days? This is referring to the days of Tashriq, the Ayyamut Tashriq, which is the days of Eid, Eid al-Adha, the 11th, 12th, and 13th of the Dhul Hijjah, the 10th, 11th, 12th, and a part of 13th, right? So those days are the days of Tashriq when we say the Takbirat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. And we say it all the time. Obviously, we can say it anytime and all the time. But those are the days when we are especially asked to spend a lot of time in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as possible. So those days are specifically meant for the dhikr. So they're numbered days. They're just a few days, 3 or 4 days, 3.5 days, literally. So, and remember Allah during these numbered days, faman, then who, ta'ajjala. Ajala, to hurry, to make some, to be quick in something. Ta'ajjala, the one, faman ta'ajjala, the one who hurries. fi yawmaini, in 2 days. So these are the 3 days. So after when people are finished with the day of Arafah, the ninth day they spent at Arafah, then people come back to Muzdalifah, and then they come to Mina, and then in Mina they on the 10th day they take some small stones and they throw them at the Jamarat, where people we do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we curse the shaitan. And at that time, and after that, sacrifices made in Mina as well. And then when these things are completed, these are the 3 days of Yawm Tashriq. So anybody who hurries in 2 days, like as in anybody who stays there for 2 days and then leaves after 2 days and goes to Mecca, then fala, then no isma alayhi, then there is no sin upon him. It's okay if you need to leave after 2 days, then there is no sin upon you. Woman, and whoever ta'akhara, delays, fala ithma alayh, then no ithma alayh, then no sin upon him. So there are some people who might leave in 2 days, and there are some people who might stay for all 3 days. Some people might have a reason they need to leave early and everything, and some people might stay longer and stay all 3 days. Then there is no sin on either of them, right? So for either of them, there is no sin upon it, whatever works for different people because of different reason. Limanit taqa, for the one who fears. But there is the main thing is not the numbering. What is the main thing? That the condition, however, is that no sin if that you have taqwa, that you fear. Fear whom? Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Limanit taqa, for the one who fears. Wattaqullaha, and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa'alamu, and know that from ilm, ain, lam, and mim. So wa'alamu, and know, annakum, that you, ilayhi, to him, ila and he, two words. He refers to him here refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ilayhim, to him, tuhsharun, that you will be gathered. Hashar is like when there is a shepherd and he has like a lot of sheep all over, and he just gathers them all together, right? And then just like the connotation is when a lot of animals like are gathered together, and they are made to just go into this area, and they're just made to, like, for example, they're going wild all over the place, and the shepherd just puts them in the little enclosure that he's made for them, and then he hushers them all into it, right? So that's husher. So tuhsharun, that towards him you'll be gathered, that you'll all be like put together like loads and loads of people, all people. And here it is referring to the day of judgment, that you'll all be gathered. Right? It's also then one of the names of the day of judgment. There are many names of day of judgment. One of the names is that it is the day of Hashar, when everyone will be gathered together. Humanity from the beginning of times till the end of times. And if we think of even the population today, it's huge. But this is Hashar as in all kinds of humanity and all people from the beginning of times till the end of time. They'll all be gathered together. So it will be a kind of gathering that we cannot even imagine for now. So here in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and remember Allah during specific numbered days, then whoever hastens his departure in 2 days, there is no sin upon him. And whoever delays until the third, then there is no sin upon him either. For him who fears Allah. The condition is that you fear Allah. And fear Allah and know that unto him you will all be gathered. Go over in a little bit more detail. Ayah number 200. فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُمْ مَنَاسِكَكُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and when you complete your acts of worship, then remember Allah as you remember your forefathers, or even greater remembrance, right? So here Allah ta'ala is saying that He's teaching us even that to fix our duas also, fix our dhikr, fix our words that we talk, and look at the things that you talk about, look at the things you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, and look at your words, look at your things you're asking, and in that mirror you assess yourself. You will know where you stand if you look at what you're speaking, what you're asking Allah for, and what you are saying, what you're remembering all the time. So there is before Islam, in the times of Jahiliyyah, people had, obviously from the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam was Hajj started and everything was for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in the years that followed, in many generations that followed, people had put a lot of bidat and things have changed and everything. And just before Islam, there was a time of Jahiliyyah. It is called as the time of Jahiliyyah, in which a lot of practices were developed which were not at all, which didn't suit a person who is there to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of these practices was that after the rituals of Hajj were completed, and people would stay in the tents on the 11th, 12th, and the 13th of Dhul Hijjah, then what they would do is this would be the time which they had turned into almost a commercial festival. Like, and because those people were so eloquent in their speech, it was a lot of poetry competitions you can think of in today's day of time. Like, so people would make poetry, people would sit and talk about stuff, and they would praise their forefathers, and they would remember. So we can think of it as in today's days and time, like people watching different videos and sharing videos and things and talking about different things, and um, just to contemporize it, what kind of thing so main purpose was entertainment and um, festive, and then the business dealings and everything, and remembering their previous generation. So what they used to do was they would sit and talk. They would talk about the battles that had happened previously, and they would talk about, my this uncle was so brave, and my father was so brave, and my grandfather, he was this, and he was like a victorious person, and he did that. He was so brave in this battle. He killed so many people, and so they would make poetry out of all these things, and they would praise their lineage. They would praise, every person would praise their thing. So now what happens is, after you've completed all the, when people are doing their rituals, then you are you're involved in them, right? And then everything. But once everybody's free, then they use all this time to sit and do discussions and everything. And the purpose of this discussion, if we think about it, why does a person praise their forefathers? The purpose is their own pride, like, so to show how big or how good a family, a background that I belong to, that see my father did this, see my mother did this, see my grandfather, see this is who I am. Like, the purpose is to, when a person is busy praising their own lineage again and again and again, and a lot and a lot and a lot, what is happening? They are, in fact, they are feeding their own pride, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, don't do this, right? Instead, utilize this time. Instead of utilizing this time to remember your fathers and forefathers, use this time to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and use it with the same passion and commitment that you use to remember your own family or a tribe, or even more, right? So just like you remember your forefathers and you had so much passion in it, and you were like, everybody was like, one person praised his father, then the other has to go and praise, like they would be like, okay, one person, oh, your father did this, my father did this, even more, like they would compete with each other almost, and they would have this. So with the kind of passion and commitment that you bring to praise your forefathers, you bring that kind of a passion into remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead. So use your passion in the right direction, or أو أشد ذكرى, or even greater than that, because these days are the days to do takbirat, to do to do the takbirat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of Hajj time and everything. And how do we do dhikr? How do we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We remember him in our heart, that we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are thankful to him, we remember his greatness, and we seek his forgiveness. So we are remembering him in our heart. We remember him through our tongue. When we saying takbirat, we are remembering him through our tongue. When we are saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, or when we are saying alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, or when we are saying Allahu akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu akbar, walillahi alhamd. All these takbirat that we are saying, we're using our tongue for the dhikr, right? And through our actions, that when we are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it shows in our actions that we are not proud, we are helping other people, we go out and do things. If we see somebody in need, if we see even an animal who's thirsty or hungry or something, or it's hurting because of something, then we feel something and we try to do whatever we can towards the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's how we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And we don't do things which are against the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that if we do those things, if we do things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not pleased about, then we are not doing his dhikr. We are engaging in something that is contrary to dhikr, right? And today also we do a lot of socializing and everything, and we don't use the names of our great grandfathers. In fact, today people before us were used to know their lineage so much. If for us, we don't even know the names of our great grandfathers, right? People knew the lineage of like at least 7 8 people ahead, and they knew their names and they knew what they did in their life. We know in today's day and age, we know maximum like our parents and our grandparents, and maybe a few of us know the names of our great grandparents, but we don't know much about them. But they knew so much about it, and they had so much pride into it, right? And we don't give much importance to that thing anymore, to our lineage and everything. But we have other distractions in our day and age. We have our own kind of distractions, and which are even shallower than that. May Allah forgive all of us. And the point to remember that Allah Ta'ala is teaching us here is that these days are, when you're going for Hajj, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for many of you. You're going there. Don't waste this time, right? Don't deprive yourself of the great benefits that that you can reap from Hajj, right? The forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the du'as of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all these things that you can do, don't deprive yourself of them. And once you finish your rituals, and don't spend your time in chit chatting about politics and this and that, or complaining about this and that. And obviously, there's going to be all kinds of people together. It's people from all over the world are there, of all kind of social status, um, all kind of lifestyles and everything. So you will find really poor people. You'll find people from very rich backgrounds as well. You'll have find people who are very considerate of other people. That you'll find people who are not at all considerate about other people. So your time and of space and everything. Not to blame them, but this is just how their lifestyle is. That some people live like that, and some people live. So you'll interact with all kinds of people, and it is very easy to get frustrated that okay, this person, like, somebody's elbowing other people and make sure they get enough space. They don't care about other people, and some people are, you have all sorts of people like there, and some people are rude as well. Some people are just complaining all the time, and you'll find all these kind of people, right? And it's easy to get distracted, but don't get distracted. Go towards the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and don't leave out your rewards of the Hajj, right? And the point is that after you complete Hajj, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the thinking of the good, the praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his tasbih, and remembering his greatness, that should be something that we come back with us in our hearts, right? And out of different kinds of dhikr, dua is also a form of dhikr. So people do dua when you go there and everything. And from the people that who go there, there are a lot of people when even when they go for Hajj, they say things like, Ya Allah, I wanted this car for so long. I wanted a red Lamborghini, or I wanted a yellow Lamborghini, and like I wanted, or some guy would be like, I really want to marry this girl, and I'm going to meet like her parents and stuff, and then just like let me have that, like let them like me, and I just want to get married to her or something. Or somebody's praying for a job and everything, and they're like, Ya Allah, I want this, I want this, I want this, and they are so involved in their dunya that even when they go there, all they can think of is like either some money, or some kind of a spouse, or somebody that they really want, or some kind of a vacation they want to go to, or I want to just pay off my house, or I want to do this, I want to do that. So they are just so it is so much on their minds that even when they go there, they don't even like to mention the hereafter, right? And because they think it will interfere, like in their whatever their main goals or their main desires of their life is, they don't want to talk about anything else. They're like, yeah, just give me dunya, give me this. So even you will find people, even today we'll find, when we go, we'll find people in front of the Kaaba praying for just like, I hope this happens, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this job, I want this thing, I want this thing. And at Mina or at other places, wherever it is said that here duas are accepted, you'll find them making those kind of duas. And duas are the duas that we make when we are talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by ourselves, when it is told to us, like when it's raining, or different times when duas are accepted. And what are the kind of duas we are making? If we pay attention to that, we'll find what is going on in our heart, and what does our heart prioritize. If we know all of a sudden, like if I'm driving and it starts raining, and in my mind the thought comes, oh, the duas are accepted at this time, then what are the kind of duas that come to my mouth, right? What that will show me what are the priorities of my life, right? And what is the thing that weighs on my mind all the time, right? And so there are certain people, what would they do is they don't even ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, if you look at the next ayah, the other kind of people in comparison, when they ask for dunya, they say, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan. But this first category of people here, they're not even asking for hasana. They're like, I want this, right? And I like this, I want this, I like this, I want 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 this, me. And there's no talk of akhirah, and there's no talk of goodness even, right? So for them, there is nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies and tells that they ask for dunya, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the dunya, but in the akhirah they have no share at all, not even a share in that, right? So sometimes this also brings us to the point that sometimes we think that there are a lot of people who are not Muslims, and but they're doing so many good deeds. We see them feeding people, we see them doing so many good deeds, helping orphans and building wells and charitable hospitals and schools and things like that, and they're doing so much good. And then we are thinking that then we sometimes think that ya Allah, what will happen to these people? They're doing so much good in this world, then won't they be rewarded for this? That shouldn't they get Jannah because they're doing so much? But see, the point that we forget is, do they want Akhirah when they're doing all these good deeds, or are they asking Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for Akhirah at all? Right? So they haven't even asked for it. They don't even want it. They're not even asking for it, right? And to get something in Akhirah, it is essential for us to do the intention for it and at least seek it, right? So there are a lot of people who are doing a lot of goods, but all they want is certain benefit or recognition or doing good, feeling good about themselves by doing good. Because obviously, when we do some good, our soul feels satisfied. We feel a kind of satisfaction inside us, which is a kind of like like it soothes us, our soul. It makes us feel good about ourselves when we do something to help others, and which is a very genuine feeling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put it in our fitra. But besides doing this, besides being charitable, besides doing all this good, are we seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Like the Prophet was asked, Aisha radiallahu anha actually asked him about one person who was before at the time of the Prophet, but before him, like he had not accepted Islam and everything, but he was very, very charitable. He had passed away earlier. So Aisha Radhana asked the Prophet, what will happen to that person? Will he get Jannah because of, he get any benefit because of all these good things that he did, but he never accepted Islam? And the Prophet said, he got the reward in this dunya. Like people mention him with like, oh, he's so famous and everything. He got the reward of being praised by people, and people look up to him and everything, but he will not get anything in Akhirah, because never once did this person seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never once did this person ask Allah ta'ala to forgive him. And he didn't ask for akhirah, right? So the point is here that when we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should look at our du'as and subhanallah, one of the very, very, very big blessings of the Quran is that Allah Ta'ala literally spoon feeds us the du'as. Like, okay, ask this, my servants, my slaves. And this shows how much Allah Ta'ala loves us, that he knows that our minds and our hearts are so limited that when we start to ask, we'll ask this and we'll just stop at that. And Allah Ta'ala teaches us that, oh my servants, ask this. You don't even know how to ask. Let me teach you the words and ask me from these words. And he wants to give us much more than we are capable of asking. So he teaches us the du'as that ask these du'as, right? And that's why the du'as from the Quran and the hadiths that we learn, they are so beautiful that if we start to write down our du'as, the wordings of du'as ourselves, yes, we can and we should do that as well. But we'll never reach that level by ourselves of asking comprehensively asking so much in so little words that we learn from the du'as of the Quran and the hadith. Another thing we learn here is that the true Abrahamic spirit of Hajj is hijrah, or migration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? To move our hearts towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salam did hijrah for the sake of Allah. He moved, he migrated, he left his town, he left his people, he left everything he had for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he left his wife and his son alone in the middle of desert for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So he traveled so much for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for us, the spirit of the Hajj is that we migrate. We might not be migrating physically, but we migrate our hearts and our minds, our souls towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yes, there are many material benefits during Hajj as well. There are things that we benefit from, but those benefits are incidental and they are secondary. The primary benefit and the primary goal of Hajj is to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to migrate, to move towards more and more towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, move our minds, our hearts, our bodies towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and benefit from that closeness. And we seek his rida, his pleasure more than anything else. And then after telling us about these people who will have no share, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about this other group of people. And there are other people, what they do is when they go there, and even in our day-to-day lives, these are the smart people, these are the intelligent people. What they do, they ask وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً. Ya Allah, grant us in this world hasana. Hasana is something which is beautiful on the outside and it has goodness on the inside as well. So when I'm asking for something from hasana, what am I asking? That Ya Allah, give me something that is pleasing to me, but you know, I don't know what is inside that, but it has also good in it for you. So for example, there's a guy who likes a girl, she's so beautiful, she's so pretty, man, he might want to marry her, but then once he marries her, he might find out, oh, she doesn't have good manners, she's like wasteful, she's like not considerate of anyone, and she's just rude to everyone all the time, and she's doesn't treats him very badly or something. Then there is no hasana in it. Like she was beautiful on the outside, but then or vice versa, for a guy, for a girl, right? He might be good looking or look smart or very rich on the outside, but he might not have good behavior and good akhlaq and everything, right? So what we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that, Ya Allah, give me hasana, a beautiful thing. Hasana is something that is beautiful, and every nema that we get with the rida of Allah, something that is a blessing for us, and it also has the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is something which is hasana. Right? It is not just something that is beautiful or good, something that is both good and beautiful. It has benefit in it, it is good and it is beautiful at the same time, right? And there's a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ told us that when you need something, even if you need a shoelace, ask Allah first. Like ask Allah, right? So the Sahaba, what they used to do was, even if they ran out of salt or sugar or anything, they would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Like their thing was, they would not ask anybody else. They would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then they would strive for it, obviously. Not just ask Allah ta'ala and just keep sitting that something will drop in my hand. No, obviously you get up and you work for it as well. But you ask him, and then the purpose of asking is the same Allah who gives rizq to the birds. Every single bird who goes out of the nest in the morning comes back full, comes with food in the evening, comes up with a full stomach or with food for the children as well. When this Lord, our Allah, who feeds the birds, won't He give us? When we are asking Him, won't He give us what we are asking Him? Inshallah, He will give us. And Quran teaches us, like we said, that how to ask and what to prioritize as well, right? And how to ask it. So when we are, instead of asking that Yalla give me dunya, we are asking, give me in dunya hasana, something that is hasana. So for example, if I'm asking for a child, I say, Ya Allah, give me, there's some couple who wants a child and they're asking for hasana, right? What would that hasana mean is, I don't just want a child, I want a child which would bring care to me, that would be a good child, that would be a sensitive child, who would understand goodness and who would be a means of goodness for me, not somebody who will, who would be a source of bad deeds for me. A child who would bring care, who would be close to you, right? And when I ask for mal, when I ask for wealth, then I don't just ask for wealth, I ask for wealth that is halal, that is pure, and that has barakah in it, right? And when I ask for a spouse, a husband or a wife, then I ask for somebody who is righteous, spouse, that we can work together for the sake of Allah, we can do things. Obviously, a lot of us know that when we are trying to do something for the sake of Allah, it is one thing when we are doing by ourselves. But when our spouse joins us in that, when a husband and a wife come together and both of them have they're calibrated to the same goal, then the kind of things we can do, that we have access to, increases manyfold. Like if we look at the family of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam had left Hajra and Ismail alayhi salam there, but it was the faith of Hajra as well, that when she ran in between there and then she made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then how she raised Ismail, and then so that it was the tarbiyah of Hajra that when Ismail grew up, and when Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam told him that I've seen a dream in which I've seen to slaughter you, and this child says that, go ahead, my father, if it is a dream, you are a prophet and prophets' dreams are true, and if Allah Ta'ala has willed that, then go ahead and do it. This child was ready to sacrifice himself, and this child was ready to say, Ya Allah, Abati, oh my father, go ahead. If Allah Ta'ala has commanded you to do it, then go ahead, do it, and you will find me of the patient ones. This tarbiyah doesn't just come. It is because the husband and wife both had the same vision. They both were looking for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were raising their children in that sense. And that when so a righteous spouse and who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a great blessing. At the same time, when we ask for health, good health and healing from anything that we have, then when we asking for healing, then it's one thing. But when we are asking for hasana, then we saying, Ya Allah, heal me or give me good health, so that when I'm able to move around better, when I'm able to work around and have good health, I can walk around and I can do things for your sake, and maybe I can cook food and feed to some people, when maybe I can do something, some other kind of good. So give me health so that I can utilize it for your sake. Like the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith, take advantage of five before five. Take advantage of your time before you get busy. Take advantage of your health before you get sick. Take advantage of your youth before you get old, right? And take advantage of your life before you have death, right? And take advantage of your wealth before you become poor, right? So anything that we have has a potential of both good in it and has some shar in it as well, right? That's why we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the last two surahs of the Quran, we ask Allah ta'ala to protect us from the shar of everything that He has created, right? And the same time, there's goodness in everything. And when we are asking Allah ta'ala for hasana, we are asking, Ya Allah, give me the goodness of these things, give me the good part of whatever you want, and give me something which will help me to build my akhirah. Something which is hasana also means that something, how will we earn akhirah? We have only this world. This is the life that we have, in which we can do deeds. Once our eyes close, and once the angel of death comes and our eyes close, and our soul departs, then our chapters close. Then there's no more deeds to add to our register, right? Except three that the Prophet ﷺ told us, except the good knowledge that we have taught people, that the generations ahead benefit from, except a child who does good deeds for our sake, and accept the money that we have used in building masajid and things like that, that do like that the sadaqah goes ahead. So what happens is, this is the world where we are doing things, our amal, or our the things that we have that will help us build our akhirah, right? So when we are asking for hasana in this dunya, that means we are asking for things that will help us to build our akhirah, that will help us to do things that will build, like the money that I have, I'll use it in a good way, right? So even in knowledge, for example, I'm asking for knowledge, but knowledge that has benefit in it, that creates some kind of benefit. Like today, we live in a time of information overload, right? There's so much information about everything. Even for example, culinary. If you think about cooking food and laying the table, there's hundreds and thousands of kinds of different ways people are decorating food, and how they're plating their food, and it looks so pretty and everywhere. And there's an art of how to lay the spoons, and how to do this and how to do that. And it's there's so much. If somebody goes into that any field, for example, just cooking is just one example, but if you look at just food, there is so much to learn, and there's so much information on that. But then how much of it is actually beneficial? If we so we ask Allah Ta'ala to give us even the knowledge that is beneficial. And that's why we also ask in the dua, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafiya wa rizqan tayyiba wa amalan mutaqabbala, right? That we ask Allah Ta'ala that give us rizq that is halal and pure, give us the amal that you accept, right? And the ilm that is of benefit. And here this is a comprehensive, though in just a few words, we are asking for all kinds of goodness. We are asking for Islam. We are asking for istiqamat on our iman, that when give us afia, give us izzah, give us honor, give us respect, don't disgrace us, give us help, right, of all kinds, and give us ilm, give us amal. We are asking for everything in just these short words, right? And we are besides dunya, wa fil akhirati hasana. And what is hasana in akhirah? That we are asking for Jannah. We are asking for easy reckoning. Allahumma hasibni hisaban yasira. Ya Allah, give me an easy reckoning. We are asking for our accounts to be given in our right hand. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that those people who will get in their deeds, the account of their deeds, we will all get the account of our deeds. Some of us will get it in our right hands, and some of us will get it in our left hands. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those who get it in our right hands. Because Allah Ta'ala says those who got it in their right hands, those will be the successful ones. Right? Those are the people. And so just by receiving our book of deeds, we will already know. We'll already have a little bit of hint of what is going to happen to us. Right? It will be a very, very scary day. that day. And on that day there'll be no shade, like it will be very hot day, it will be a very long and a very hot day, but there will be only one shade, and that shade will be the shade of Allah's throne. And when we are asking for akhirati hasana, what are we asking? We are asking for the shade of Allah's throne. We are asking that the Pul Sirat, which will be there'll be a bridge that each one of us will have to cross. And the Prophet ﷺ said that there'll be some places, when Aisha Dulana asked the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, will you remember me on the day of judgment? Like she is his wife, she's his beloved wife, and she's asking him, Ya Rasulullah, will you remember me on the day of judgment? And he said, I will remember you, except there are three places where nobody will remember anyone, and one of, because it will be so scary that you will be there, and one of those places would be the Sirat. And this Sirat would be a very thin bridge, and very thin, very sharp bridge, and below that bridge is Jahannam. Below that bridge is fire, and we all will have to pass over that bridge to reach Jannah, right? And there'll be people who will be crossing, and some will fall. Allah Ta'ala will decree for some to fall from there, and some will go, and it'll be a very scary place. But the people who believe, the people who are close to Allah Ta'ala, the people whom Allah Ta'ala is pleased with, they will be able to pass this bridge very, very quickly. And for others, it will be a very hard time. Some will cross, some will not fall, but they will, even that will be a sort of punishment where you're not able to go fast enough on it, or you'll be wobbling and everything, and that's depending on what we've done in this world, right? We will there are some kind of punishments that are there for people, even for people who are going to Jannah eventually, but they have done some things for which they deserve some punishment. Even the day of judgment has some punishments in it, in which that you are scared for yourself until you get to Jannah. You don't know where you don't know if you're there yet, right? So even that part of Akhirah, it is scary. We don't know what is going to happen. And when we are asking for akhirati hasana, we are asking, Ya Allah, help us to go from this sarat quickly and easily. Make it easy for us. Make it not difficult for us. And when we are asking for akhirati hasana, the ultimate in the hasana is that we are asking for the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are asking, Ya Allah, you be pleased with us. In akhirah, the biggest blessing, after people of Jannah have got all the blessings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask them, oh my ibadi, oh my servants, are you happy with what you have? And people will say, Ya Allah, yes, we have. Do you want anything else? No, Ya Allah, we are more than satisfied. We don't want anything else. People, although our brains would be working much more than they are now, the scientists say that we use only 3% of our brains from even the human bodies that we learn nowadays. So there our minds will be opened up. We'll be using 100% of our brains, and our bodies will be different as well. We'll have much more brains, and we'll be using all of it. And how Allah Ta'ala knows best how our bodies will be and how they'll utilize it. But we will know different things, and our memories would be super sharp, and we would yet all that we could think of to ask Allah Ta'ala, we will get all of it. And yet Allah Ta'ala will ask us, do you want anything more? And then we say, Ya Rab, we are satisfied, we are happy, we are satisfied. And then Allah Ta'ala will say, okay, now I'll give you something else. And that He says, I declare that I'm pleased with you, and I'll never be displeased with you ever again. I'll be pleased with you forever. And that will be the biggest pleasure of the people of Jannah. Our motivation of getting to Jannah, yes, Jannah is a big motivation. The fruits of Jannah is a big motivation. The drinks of Jannah is a big motivation. The spouses of Jannah. The spouses would be, we look at our spouse, the wives will look at their husband, and husband will look at their wives, and we'll think this is, he or she is the most beautiful person there is. We look away and we look back, and the same spouse will look to us more beautiful than even before. When we first look at our husband or our wives, we'll keep staring at each other for 40 years. We find each other so beautiful and so pleasing that we'll just keep staring at each other for a period of 40 years. And we will not be able to stop staring at them, right? And there'll be no kind of pain. There'll not be a single pain in of any kind in Jannah. And there'll be no death, obviously. And there is all kinds of blessings. Yet, the biggest blessing that we have is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Beyond, in front of that, all other blessings are just secondary, right? So when a person knows, as we learn more, and then our du'as have more meaning to them, right? So when we are asking for hasana in this dunya, and when we are asking for hasana in akhirah, there just this small phrase, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan, that includes so much. It is such a comprehensive dua. And then we ask, waqina adhab an-nar, and save us from the punishment of fire. There will be some people who will get to Jannah eventually, but because of the sins they have committed, they will need to stay for some time in Jahannam. They'll need to do some, they need to serve some time, like we say that serves, this person has to serve some time in prison before they come out, right? So some people will have to serve some time in Jahannam. And what we are asking is, Ya Allah, I want Jannah, but I don't want just Jannah. I want Jannah directly. I want to be saved from the punishment of fire. In this world, if we, this world's fire is 70 times less than the heat of the fire of Jahannam, at least 70 times less. And we know how much the fire of this world can destroy things. Yet the fire of this world is nothing. They say that when people of Jahannam, if they experience the fire of this world, they will sleep easily in it, right? Because it will feel like nothing to them, right? And that's how strong and hot the fire of Jahannam is. And we don't want even a second in that. We don't want even to feel the heat of it from a distance. We don't even want to look at it. We don't even want one dip in it, right? So we don't want anything in it. We want straight Jannah. So we are asking Allah Ta'ala, Ya Allah, forgive us. We know we are imperfect. We know we do so many mistakes. We try to do good, and while doing good, we end up doing mistakes. So Ya Allah, don't give us that Jahannam for, don't give us any time in the fire because of that, anything. And just forgive us and give us straight Jannah. That's what we want. We don't want anything of that, right? And Nabi Sallallahu used to ask this dua a lot, right? And he used to, it is almost like he used to say, like, in one dua you have asked for everything, literally everything that we can think of, everything good that we can think of, we have asked for it in just one dua, right? And for us, what does it mean? Whenever we are short of time, sometime make this dua a lot and ask for it a lot anyways, right? And there's an incident where a person was very sick, and he was like, he was very very sick, and he kept getting more and more sick and everything. And and it was very hard for him, and he was in a lot of trouble. So the Prophet ﷺ went to him and he asked him that, what happened, have you been making some kind of a dua? And this person said that, yes, I have been making a dua. And the Prophet ﷺ asked him, okay, what dua have you been making? And this person said, I've been asking that, Ya Allah, whatever punishment you want to give me in this world only. Don't give me in akhirah. So first of all, it shows us the Sahaba how much concern they had for the akhirah. That he's saying, Ya Allah, I don't want anything in the akhirah. Give me something now. If you want to give me any punishment, give it to me now, and don't give it to me in akhirah. But the Prophet ﷺ, and then we need to know what did the Prophet ﷺ say. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, don't ask that, because no one has the capacity to bear the adab of Allah in this world or the next. We don't have that capacity. Don't think you have that capacity. If Allah Ta'ala were to give you the adab in this world, you don't have the capacity. You cannot bear it. So don't ask that. Instead, ask for this dua. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And this person started asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with shifa. Right? And so we don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for hardship. Again, in our religion, we never ever ask Allah ta'ala for hardship. We ask him for afia, we ask him for ease. But the difference is, when hardship does come upon us, and we all will be tested, when it does come upon us, then we don't complain to Allah Ta'ala in the sense that, Ya Allah, why are you doing this to me? And I did so much for your sake, and why we don't complain to him in that sense. We do share our pain with him. We say, Ya Allah, this is hurting, or this is causing me pain, or this is troubling me. Please help me, please heal me. But we don't say, Ya Allah, why are you doing this to me, and I didn't deserve this, and things like that. We don't say things like that. We accept Allah Ta'ala's decree, but then we ask Allah Ta'ala to heal us and everything. We never ask for pain, and we always ask for goodness in this world and the next, right? And the Sahabas used to ask this dua so much as well. Anas radiallahu anhu, he used to ask a lot of duas, and with every dua he used to ask this dua for sure. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. The Prophet ﷺ told us another thing about this dua is that while doing Umrah or Hajj, the Prophet ﷺ said there are four corners of the Kaaba. At one side we have the black stone, and there are the three sides, and one of the sides is called the Yamani corner, the corner of the Kaaba which faces Yemen, right? So that's called the Yamani corner. And the Prophet ﷺ said that I see an angel at the Yamani corner saying Ameen. So whenever you pass this during your tawaf, so what do we do during our tawaf when we go for Umrah or when we go for Hajj? We are doing the tawaf of the Kaaba, and when we are going round and round, when you pass this corner, this side, no matter how close or how far you are from the Kaaba, when you're making your tawaf, when you're going round, and when you pass this corner, then say this dua: رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I see an angel saying Ameen. So make sure you say this dua, right? And he could have taught us any dua, but he said make this dua specifically when you're passing this side, because when you're asking this dua, you're asking for everything in this dua, everything, every good you're asking for, and you're asking to be saved from the fire. And we are human beings, we have a lot of needs. We have needs for this dunya, and we have needs for akhirah as well. There is no shortage, there's no limitation in the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That if we get one thing, then we won't get another. One misconception that a lot of people have is that, you know what, if I get too much of this, then I won't be able to get that. And but Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith to the effect of that if the whole creation, every human being and every jinn, from the beginning of times till the end of times, if everyone comes together and asks Allah for every desire that they want, everything they want, they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single thing they can think of, they can discuss with each other, then come up with, and everything that they can think of, and Allah ta'ala gives everybody, every human being and every jinn, from the beginning of times till the end of times. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives everyone every single desire that they have, then too the the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be depleted by, even if there is an ocean and we dip a needle and we bring it out, then as much water as the ocean loses by this needle dipping in the water and coming out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's treasures will not be depleted by even that much. That's how much Allah ta'ala has with him. So when we ask him, we should ask with that in mind, that there is no limit to Allah's treasures. His treasures are unlimited. He's wasi'ah, right? He has whatever we want of this world and whatever we want of the akhirah. The only limitations are in our mind and in what we've seen around us and what people tell us and everything else. There is no limitations to the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like human beings. Like, like what we do is we give to someone this much, this much, this much. And, this, for example, we pass by somebody, or one of us goes to work, and on the street we pass by somebody, a homeless person or somebody who is in need, and we start giving him something, and every day we give him something. One day we give him $2, $10. One day we give him food. Some days we give him this and this. After some time, we've given him like for 100 year, like $100 for, let's say, every day for 100 days or something. Then be like, okay, I've given him enough now. Let me give to somebody else, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like that. It's not like that's human beings who, once we give a lot to somebody, or we have done so much, we have done so much for you. You are my child. I did so much for you, and this is how you repay. Or I say to my, or we think about our husbands or our parents or our colleagues that, okay, I did so much for them, and then look how they're doing thing, and they want even more from me all the time. And don't they like see or whatever? They're always asking, asking, asking. But that's us. That's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We get irritated when somebody keep asking us, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves it when we ask him, and in fact, he doesn't like it when we stop asking him, right? And he is the biggest of the kings. He's the king of the kings, and we can get tired of asking and asking and asking, but he does not get tired of giving and giving and giving, right? And even we know that in Jannah, the person who has the lowest Jannah, the last person to enter, sorry, not the last person to enter, the person who will have the lowest Jannah, like there'll be levels in Jannah, right? There are many, many, many levels in Jannah. And depending on what we do and how much we do, Allah Ta'ala will give us from His rahmah, whatever level He grants us. May Allah Ta'ala grant all of us Jannatul Firdaus, and our families and our loved ones, and guide all our loved ones to Islam and to Ihsan, and to grant us the company of our loved ones in Jannatul Firdaus. Ameen. So the person who has the lowest Jannah, the lowest of the level of Jannah, how much will he have? He'll have everything that is on this earth, that amount, and 10 times more of it. The lowest Jannah is 10 times more of this whole of earth. right? And so we can think of every treasure, gold, silver, precious stones, and resources, and whatever we can. If we think of what all this world contains, this whole earth contains, the lowest Jannah, one person's property, would be 10 times more of that, right? And we cry about like a small house made up of mud and wood and stones and everything, and there this one person will have everything, and that would be the lowest of Jannah. We cannot even imagine what the higher levels of Jannah would be like, right? And when we are asking Allah Ta'ala, then we shouldn't look at the size of our own hands, or the size of our the limits of how much I can ask. Rather, we should keep in mind who is the one giving me, and then ask, right? Because when we keep him in mind, that we know there is no limits, we can ask him for whatever. And each one of us has our own needs, whether it is for ourselves, our families, our children, our work, our ibadat, our ilm, whatever we need. We should look up to who is giving us, and then ask. And then ask, even if we are asking this one dua, we have so much background in our mind that what will this dua include? رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And also a lot of scholars have remarked about this dua, that if we look at this dua, in this dua, one part is for this dunya, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً. This is one part. And then there are two parts, وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً, and the third part, وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. The last two parts, the second two parts, are both for akhirah, and the first part is for dunya. So some scholars have taken from this that we should, in our life and in our thing, we should give double importance to hereafter as much as we give to this dunya. And even in this dunya, the purpose of getting the good is for the purpose of akhirah. Like, we want good, but we want good so that we can utilize it for the sake of building our akhirah. This is the time where we are building. Like the Prophet ﷺ, when he went to the journey of Isra wal Miraj, and he went and he met Ibrahim alayhi salam on the seventh heaven, and there Ibrahim alayhi salam told the Prophet ﷺ to give one message to his ummah. Say that when you meet give my one message to your ummah, convey my salam to your ummah, and convey one message from me. And what was the message that Ibrahim alayhi salam gave to us? He said, tell your people that Jannah is very fertile. It is a very fertile land, and its blessings are huge, but it is barren. It is barren. And plant your trees in it, plant your seeds in it. And what are the seeds in it? When you say Subhanallah, when you say Alhamdulillah, when you say Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, and Allahu Akbar. These are the seeds of the lands of Jannah. So plant your seeds. The more seeds you plant, the more trees you have. So if you want forests, if you want gardens upon gardens in Jannah, you have there is a land that Allah Ta'ala has made for each person. Whether you get to inherit it or not is a different thing, but for every person there is a maqam in Jannah, and there's also a maqam in Jahannam. And depending on what we say and do in this world, Allah Ta'ala will bless us with either, and He's the most just. He will bless us with what we can. He would not punish anyone more than they deserve, but He'll give people more, much more than we deserve from His rahmah, right? But still, we have to plant the seeds, right? And to plant the seeds, what we have to do, we have to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have to plant the seeds of dhikr. So Ibrahim alayhi salam gave us this message that Jannah is very, very, very fertile, but it is barren. There is no trees in there. It's an empty land. And if you want your real estate, when you get there, you want the blessings, start preparing now. Start preparing for your, if one of us have to move from, let's say one of us plans to go move back home, what we'll do is we start sending money there, buy a property there, and get things built up before we move. Or if you're moving to another city, we want to make some, do some research and get things done there so that our stay will be comfortable. So here Allah Ta'ala is saying, you want to go to Jannah, then start planting for there, right? And we are asking for hasana for that. So, and here for these people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and it continues for these same people who make these kind of dua, and may Allah ta'ala make us of these people. Ulaika lahum nasibum mimma kasabu. Those, for them is a share of what they earned. Now here, Allah ta'ala could have said those, for them is a share of what they asked. Because here we are asking, we are making a dua, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. But here, instead of saying that they get a share of what they ask, Allah Ta'ala changed the word and said, for them is a share of what they earned. And why is that? Because now Allah Ta'ala is teaching us that when you make a dua, after that, it is not enough to just make dua. After that, start working for it too, right? Those who obey Allah and do things for His sake, right? For them is a share, right? So we make dua, but don't assume that just because you make dua, something will just fall in your lap. Now you'll have to earn it as well. In Allah's way, Allah Ta'ala says in different parts in the Quran that He will test us. The test will come to you of different kinds. Like Ibrahim alayhi salam had different kind of tests. Yusuf alayhi salam had different kind of tests. Yusuf alayhi salam had to face betrayal from his own brothers. Ibrahim alayhi salam had to have to face prosecution by his whole community wanted to kill him. His whole people wanted to kill him, and he had to leave that. Ayub alayhi salam had to battle sickness. He was a prophet, and he had to battle so much sickness that he lost everything in that sickness, and yet that was his test. Musa alayhi salam had to work with. First of all, he had to work with Pharaoh and everything and rescue his people. And then he had to work with people who were very stubborn. The same people whom he had rescued were so stubborn and so inconsiderate and so they love to frustrate and irritate him, right? So he had to work with these people. And it was not easy, obviously. There are different kinds of tests. In Allah's way, when we start working in Allah's way, there will be tests and there will be things we have to strive for it. We have to earn things. We have to do things. And then what will happen when we do stuff, we make dua, and then we do stuff, then we earn things, then wallahu sari'ul hisab, then Allah is very swift at reckoning. Allah Ta'ala gives in taking an account. Allah Ta'ala is very very swift. And sometimes, like, some people say that there will be so many people on the day of judgment. It'll be like the whole of humanity is there, and then how will anybody have a swift judgment, because it's like so many people there? But the answer to that is very simple. In this world, at this moment, how many people are living in this world? And out of all the people that who are living, let's just not even consider people who are not even Muslims. Like, there are at least a billion Muslims in this world alive at this particular time. And out of these billion, at least a million are praying sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So whoever all out of these 1 million people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening to everyone at the same time. Right? He listens like we don't listen. Like, we listen, but he is as-Sami', right? We are Sami', but he is as-Sami'. He is the one who listens to everything and everyone, right? And he listens to everyone at the same time. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take hisab, he can take hisab at the same time for whoever he wants to take and whoever he wants to delay, and that delay would be a sort of punishment, right? So a quick account and a good result would be a matter of ease. So for example, when our exams, we have given our exams and then we are waiting for the result, and somebody has tried very hard in that exam, now they're waiting for the result. That time is stressful because you're waiting, you don't know what is going to happen. Are you going to get good marks? Are you not going to get good marks? You're stressful. And somebody who thinks they might have made some mistakes, they're even more stressed because they're like, oh, I did this mistake, I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to be would I lose a lot of marks because of this and everything? So when just before our results, and the more our results are delayed, the more the tension rises and everything, right? So on the day of judgment, for those people whose result will be delayed, that will be also a sort of punishment. So a quick account and an easy account is a form of blessing as well of the day of judgment, right? And in this world, we measure a lot of things. Like, we measure gold. When we measure gold, we weight. What is the weight of it? When we go to buy fruits, we weigh the fruits and see, okay, this much, this many grams or this many kilograms. Okay, that's why. So it is worth this much money. And when we buy milk, for example, we measure, like, this is 1 gallon of milk, or this is this many liters of milk, and so it is worth this much. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will measure our amal, our deeds, then he will measure it such that he will give us a result of every single zarra, every single mithqala zarra, right? So every little part of our deeds, good deeds, or everything that we do, everything will be measured in minutest quantity, and we'll get a result for that. So, for example, if I go to masjid and pray, I will not just get a reward of praying in the masjid. I get a reward of the effort it took for me to get up and walk or drive to the masjid, of doing wudu, of, like, in the same time I could have been watching a movie or something, but I left that to go. So there'll be another reward of leaving that movie and going. There'll be another reward of, like, if I took somebody on the way and I helped them get to the masjid as well, there'll be another reward. So every little bit of every step of the way, I'll be rewarded for it, inshallah ta'ala. Right? So Allah ta'ala will measure, but when he measures, he will not measure like we think of kilograms or grams and everything. It'll be subatomic particles. in today's language, we can just say that Allah Ta'ala will give us the return of every single mithqala dharra, every single thing. He will not, so the account that Allah Ta'ala take, it will be swift. It will be, we ask for Allah Ta'ala for a swift account, we ask Allah Ta'ala for an easy account, and we ask Allah Ta'ala that He will take account in very, very detail, right? So that He gives us anything. And this group, as we see, this group of people is very distinct from the previous group of people. The one who said, I just want this dunya, dunya, dunya. For them, there was nothing in the akhirah. And for these people who say, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar, and they work for it, then for them, Allah Ta'ala is very swift in reckoning, and He will give every, He'll give every little bit. And in this phrase, Wallahu Sari'ul Hisab, there is both a warning and there's also comfort. And there's a warning that even if you did a small part of bad deed or a sin or anything, it will be accounted for. And there's also comfort that every small good deed that people might not have even noticed, but just sometimes it might have been very hard to even smile at someone because they've irritated you so much. Yet you smile at them for the sake of Allah, and you kept that frustration in your heart, and you try to get rid of that frustration. Then Allah Ta'ala knows that. Nobody else might even know it, that you were feeling that frustration inside, but Allah Ta'ala knows it, right? So lesson for us in this is that a sinner should not be deluded just because he's not being punished right now. Sometimes, and we learned in the beginning of Surah Baqarah that sometimes people who are sinning, Allah Ta'ala lets them go. Like, okay, do whatever you want, right? He gives them even more of this dunya, which becomes a reason of them earning even more sins. Sometimes we look at people who are doing so many bad things, where they're playing politics at different places. It could be at our workplaces, in families, in countries and everything. We see the same people who are doing so much evil, and yet they're thriving. Like, they're not falling down. They're not like, their health is okay. Their money is only increasing. They have children. They have so many children. They have so many servants, and they're living in such luxurious houses and this and that. And we sometimes think like, yeah, love, aren't they going to get like, is it correct? They're all doing so wrong, and yet they are not getting punished for it. But what we learn in the beginning of Surah Baqarah as well as Allah Ta'ala lets some people, like the leash of the dog that we talked about, Allah Ta'ala makes the leash strong, even bigger, and He lets them run wild. What's the point? Because when Allah Ta'ala will take Hisab, then just when a dog is running wild, and when the leash is increased, the length of the leash is increased, the dog thinks he's free and he's running at a top speed. And when he goes 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 80 meter, 90 meter, 99 meter, he's walking, running super fast, and then one jerk and he just dies, right? He'll be dead meat. He won't be able to survive that. As opposed to someone who has a shorter leash, that means that Allah Ta'ala is protecting that person for going too ahead, right? So the sinner should not be deluded, and we should not also be deluded when we see people who are sinning, and who we shouldn't think they're getting away with it. When Allah Ta'ala takes Hisab, He will take a very swift Hisab. It would be very, very quick, right? And a believer should, and at the same time, the believer should not be impatient. Sometimes believers are tested with hardships, and we feel, yeah, Allah, I was doing things for your sake. Why is this hardship coming to me, right? And sometimes Shaitan does play tricks on our mind that, you know, you were doing things for this sake of Allah, and look how troubles are keep coming to you and everything. The believer should not be impatient, because we should remember, Wallahu Sari'ul Hisab. Allah Ta'ala is very swift in taking Hisab. And there's a hadith to the effect of that says, the judgment day of the dying person, the person who's dying, his day of judgment is established the moment death comes to him and he closes his eyes. The reward or the punishment of the person starts as soon as he closes his eyes and death comes to him. Right. So even the life of Barzakh, and someday we will talk about it in more detail. Even the life of Barzakh has in it rewards or punishments depending on what our status is. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people who have a good ending, a good life, and a good ending. May He make the last of our deeds, the best of our deeds, and take us on Iman and not before that. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and remember Allah during the numbered days, the days of Yawmut Tashriq, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. So after the Hajj is completed, on the 10th day, we are at Mina, and we throwing stones, and we throw little stones on the Jamarat, and we offer our sacrifice, and then there is no more rituals to be done. And for those people who are staying there for 11th, 12th, 13th day, what you have to do, only thing you have to do ritual wise, you're out of your ihram, you take off your ihram because you do your sacrifice, your ihram is taken off, everything's done, so you're not in the limitations of your ihram anymore. And also, only thing you have to do every day, that 11th, 12th, and 13th that you're staying there, is you have to go and throw some pebbles at the jamarat and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and curse the shaitan. That's the only thing you have to do. Other than that, you're free for the whole time, right? So if anybody leaves, then they can leave. But if someone stays for all 3 days, then they have to do the pebble thing every day as well, if they choose to stay. So you can't stay and not do that. You have to, if you stay, you do it. If you leave after 2 days, that's fine as well. And if you leave after 3 days, that's fine as well. But taqwa is mandatory, right? So again, this is mentioned so much that it is the most important part, and yet it is the most easiest part to lose, right? So if we think about it, when we have a lot of chores to do, or after we have a lot of rituals to do, what do we usually do when we complete the rituals? So for example, if you have a party, everybody is eating, so once everybody's busy in cooking and serving and eating and then putting away the dishes or whatever. So but once everything is done, what do? We take our tea in our hands and we sit and we chit chat. And now when everything is complete, then people start chit chatting and everything, and in every kind of thing. And then whatever's inside starts coming out, right? What are the topics that people are discussing and everything? So what are they interested in actually comes out at that time, like, because now everybody's relaxed, now there's nothing to be done. So after these days of there were so many rituals to be done, so much traveling to be done during the time of the Hajj. You had to travel from the Makkah to Mina, Muzdalifa, Arafah, and then you came back to Muzdalifa and Mina, and now you are like, now you're free, now there's no rituals to be done. Now what, right? So now is the time to not waste in anything else. Now is the time to remember, eat, drink, and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the time that even fasting is not allowed. We don't fast in these days of the days of Eid, right? We remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet told us, eat and drink, enjoy yourself, but remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this time a lot, right? And we don't even fast, except obviously we learned for the small group of people who could not sacrifice. We learned in ayah number 196 that the people who could not sacrifice, and they fast for 3 days during Hajj and then 7 days when coming back and everything. So except for those small group of people, in that sense, nobody is allowed to fast in those days. And those are the specific people who've gone to Hajj and they've met with something that they couldn't, the sacrifice or wajib on them, and they couldn't do it, right? And for those people who don't go on Hajj, we are also told that we should do these takbirat all the time. And as we learned before, the practices of pre-Islamic people are being corrected at this time. And also, some people used to say that stay only 2 days in Mina and no, don't stay after that, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us here that no, it is fine. If you stay 2 days, that is fine as well. And if you stay for 3 days, that is fine as well. So we shouldn't spend our time in pinpointing and pointing fingers at us. Oh my God, you're leaving up just after 2 days. Oh, come on, I am the, like, I'm going to stay for all 3 days. So we don't talk like that. We don't think any less of anyone who's left after 2 days, nor we think anything more of anyone who's left, who's stayed for 3 days, 3 full days, or vice versa, right? The whole purpose, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here, both is fine. Whatever works for you. Different people have different conditions. The whole of mankind from all over the world, people are going there for Hajj, and different people have different situations, and you're not answerable to each other for that. You're going there for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if somebody's leaving in 2 days, that's totally fine. Somebody's leaving in 3 days, that's totally fine as well. But the main thing is taqwa, not 1 or 2 or 3 days. When you stay there, don't get focused on little, don't nitpick on things. Rather, focus on the big thing as well. Yes, do everything in the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught us. At the same time, focus on the big thing. While staying there, remember Allah Ta'ala. If you're not even remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what's the point? Staying 2 days, 3 days, doesn't even matter. You're not even remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're going to be engaged in like topics about partying and what are you going to do when you go back, or now that you've earned the title of Haji and then you can show it off, if you're going to do just that, then what's the point? The point here is to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we look at the ayat of Hajj, like this is the last ayah that we are going to do for now, and then we're going to talk about, and the topic's going to change from next ayah onwards next week, inshallah. But here, if we look at the starting and the beginning and all these ayat of Hajj that Allah Ta'ala told us, He told us when you're packing for Hajj, take taqwa with you. Like take some things for you, but the best thing to take is taqwa. So take taqwa with you. When we are there, we are told have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you are there and when doing Hajj, do it with the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now when we are leaving from Hajj, this is the point. And then now Allah ta'ala is saying, keep taqwa with you. Leave with taqwa. Your taqwa should have increased here. And what is taqwa? Like there are many things that we've learned about taqwa, but one more thing, if we can think of, is that if we get on the news, or if we hear a news that a dangerous criminal is on loose, and it is declared that some criminal has entered it, he's a very dangerous criminal and he has entered in our neighborhood, and we get this news, what will we do? As soon as we hear that news, we'll quickly go and close our doors and put the curtains, etc., and make sure our children are safe. And we'll take some precautions very quickly because there is a danger, and it's a very clear danger, right? As soon as we felt the danger, we got worried and we started taking actions for protection, for our protection and our family's protection. That is taqwa, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that in the Quran and through the Hadith that there is an azab, there is a painful punishment. Um, Now that we understand there's a painful punishment in case we don't protect ourselves from it, now we take actions to protect ourselves from it. That is taqwa. Right? Just like we take actions to protect ourselves from a criminal, we take actions to protect ourselves from the painful punishment. We want to protect ourselves and our families, right? And then we make dua, we run around, and we start doing things for that, right? So we don't just scare of Allah subhanahu we don't just fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not just empty words. These words, when we actually have the fear of Allah, then we cannot sit because we know the repercussions, and we are, as we are starting to learn more and more the repercussions, we remember that we are going to return to Him, right? And we are going to rush to do something to protect ourselves and our families and our loved ones. And Hajj, the whole of Hajj, is a big, big, big reminder to us for the Day of Judgment. Arafah. Today, when we go for Hajj, at Arafah we go there voluntarily, but on the Day of Judgment we will be gathered, right? The animals are hushed at a certain place, like they're hushed into a certain place like that, with or without their consent. They are made to gather in a certain place, right? So at one sound of the shepherd, all the animals get together, right? And when we are leaving for Arafah, we have to keep this in our mind when we go. May Allah Ta'ala take all of us there. When we go there and when we coming back, we have to remember that today we came voluntarily, but there will be a time that there will be a sound and we'll have to come again. And that time we won't have a choice. We will have to come. We have to come anyway. Every single human being has to come anyway, right? And that's the main lesson of Hajj that we learn, that um, once you understand this, then forget the whole world and start running for the sake of rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in a nutshell, what is the whole of Hajj? The Hajj is a rehearsal for the Day of Judgment. May Allah ta'ala help us and make us those people who take lesson from His ayat, who take guidance from the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala make us of those people who have taqwa, who are not just muttaqeen, but we are muttaqina imama. May Allah ta'ala make us of those people who get the shade of His throne on the day when there will be no shade except His shade. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people that He is pleased with. And may Allah Ta'ala make us of those people who earn high ranks in Jannatul Firdaus. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people who are able to meet His prophets, who are able to talk to His prophets, who are able to see His face. And there will be no pleasure that anybody or has ever had or can anyone have or anyone can have besides the pleasure of seeing and talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. May Allah ta'ala make us of those people that say this dua, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. And may Allah ta'ala make us of those people whose dua He accepts, and He grants us all kinds of goodness in this world. All goodness that helps us to build our akhirah and takes us to our abode in akhirah, our Jannatul Firdaus in akhirah. And may Allah Ta'ala make us of those people that who follow the advice of Ibrahim alayhi salam, who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who plant the seeds now when we have the time, because we will not be able to plant any seeds on the Day of Judgment. It is now that we have the time to plant those seeds and to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those people who are pure, who seek His tawbah, who seek His forgiveness all the time, and who remember Him. May Allah Ta'ala make every breath of ours come with La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Every inhale, every exhale, may Allah Ta'ala make us of those people whose every heartbeat beats with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah ta'ala, just as He has united us as sisters in Islam in this world, may He reunite us as sisters in Islam under the shade of His throne on the day of judgment. And then once again in Jannatul Firdaus. Inshallah, may Allah ta'ala accept from all of us. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اجعلني من التوابين واجعلني من المتطهرين. آمين يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. يا أرحم الراحمين.